Hey, this is Daniel for Adorama. Today on set we're going to talk a little bit about my thought process when I'm putting together a shot. I get asked a lot of times, what my settings are on the camera, and then when I tell them, people say, well, how'd you come up with that? So I'm going to walk you through the process of how I decide how to set my camera up with two different style shots here with Sharina. This first one's going to be kind of dramatic, and we'll start here. So what I've got going on is I'm in a daylight studio, right? So I've got light coming through the window. So one of my first concerns is, since I want to use lots and lots of black in this shot, I want to make sure I've closed down my aperture enough and have enough shutter speed so that the studio itself gets dark without the lights. So that's going to be the first place I'm at. Because I'm using a Pocket Wizard system with the Profoto, I can't use a high-speed sync in this particular situation. So I'm going to have to be limited to 250th of a second. I went to ISO 100, and then I want to work to find an aperture that'll work for me. So f8 made the studio very dark for me. It made it really easy to work in. 5.6 f8 worked for me. All you have to do there is just keep shooting with no flash until you get a black picture. Then you know that you're totally in control of your space. So for me, that was fine. I'm only shooting a small amount of her body, basically her shoulders up. So I don't need it to be super depth of field, so I don't need to go any more closed down than that. And the background's gonna be gone, so I don't need to worry about having any more depth of field. Also, some people come to me and they say, well, yeah, but I love to shoot my portraits at 2.8 because I love it when it's really blurry in the background. But again, there's no background here. So shooting at 5.6 f8 is not going to affect that in any way. Also, because of the fact that there's gonna be a lot of shadow here, I wanna make sure that the part of her face that's in the light is always gonna be in focus. So by giving myself a little bit more depth, I'll always have that. So let me just run through how I lit this. It's really simple. I've got two heads and a Profoto B2, both coming from the back. I've got a Magnum reflector to camera left, right, which will be the right side of the photo. That's gonna give me a punchy light to give a glow on her hair. And then coming from camera right, I've got a beauty dish with a grid on it. That's gonna keep just kind of a nicer, a little bit of a softer style light that's gonna hit her shadow side, if you will. I mean, it's kind of the middle shadow, we'll call it. We've got a really bright, we get a black shadow, and then we're gonna get a kind of a mid-tone, but a little bit underexposed. And then the background, even though it's white, is gonna be black. It's gonna be black because no light's gonna reach back there from my flash. So let's take a shot of this and see what it looks like. Now, depending on where I put her face, it's gonna have a lot of different looks. So what I'm gonna try to do is have her turn kind of profile, but then I'm gonna work her back towards me until I see both of her eyes. So right there is good. And then she's gonna look at me. It looks fantastic. So now, depending on how mysterious I want this to be, I can get more or less of her eye in the shot. And that's gonna be what I'm really gonna work on here. There, because of her eyelashes, she's pretty much, I can't see any of her eyes. If you can't see her eyes at all, it's very mysterious, it's very dark. So we'll try to get a little bit more, maybe turn a little bit more that way. That's good. Come back a little bit towards me, good right there. And then just with your eyes, look forward, there you go. Good. When you're doing a shot like this and somebody's profile to you, it's almost never a good thing to have them look out of the corner of their eyes at the camera. It tends to look a little bit weird and you get a lot of white, which can look bizarre. So I usually tell people to look in front of them. So if she's turned profile like this, she's gonna look this way. And I'm keeping my eyes with my head. That usually looks the best, so you don't get those corner of the eye shots, unless you're doing that for a reason. These are really nice. I mean, it definitely gives a certain look. It's really dark and moody, and it's got a nice feeling to it. So in the next setup, we're gonna go completely in the opposite direction. For this next shot, I decided to take it in the opposite direction, right? I am in a daylight studio, and I'm gonna use this. At the end of the day, there's kind of this like soft light coming through. It's a little bit cloudy, and what I want to do here is create something. Sharina has this nice kind of bright colored shirt. It's really soft pattern, and we're going to go for something that's a little bit more kind of intimate in a sense, kind of soft and open. So what I decided to do was to not use any lights at all, but rather use the light that's coming through the windows. Now, I decided to put her back to the windows because I want to get a little bit of this kind of halo coming around her, and also because then my main light source lighting her is going to be this V-flat, this kicking back light, and the ground, which makes the light source tremendously big. That's gonna make her eyes really get bright because you'll have like this massive kind of catch light in it, and also it'll help control the contrast in here. So because of that, and because of the fact that there's nothing behind her, well, except for this kind of dirty part of the floor and this windowsill that is not really so appealing, I decided that I was gonna shoot more or less wide open. I don't necessarily care about the texture of the shirt. I just want to know the color of it there, so it doesn't matter to me that it's going to be out of focus. I'm just going to make sure I maintain focus on her eyes, and wide open for this lens is 2.8. So I set my camera at 2.8, then I also, even though I'm on a tripod, I know that I'm going to want to have fun with this one, so Sharina might be moving around a little bit, so I don't want to go too slow on my shutter speed. So I set my shutter speed to 125. 125 should stop the action if she's not really jumping around like crazy. So then, now I've got my exposure correct. So what I did was I just brought my ISO up. So I brought my ISO up to 320 to give me an exposure that looks correct to me. It's actually a tiny bit overexposed against the camera's meter, but the way I like it, it just seems correctly exposed for me. So because of my camera, I'm fine to shoot at 320 ISO. It's not going to affect me. It's got really good grain or whatever, so I don't care about that. So I can easily do that, and I'm going to be able to get the shot that I want. So this will be a nice kind of soft, pretty, smiley, and maybe intimate kind of shot. It's soft, to get some smiles, the color's really nice. It'll be a good contrast to the other shot, which is very, very dramatic. So remember that while a meter will give you the correct exposure, you have to decide what's the right exposure. You have to take those things, the aperture, the ISO, and the shutter speed, and put them together into the combination that will give you the look that you're looking for in your shot. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time on set.